Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Nick from Australia. Welcome to the Newcastle Knights 2020 season review. I hope everyone's doing well on this Saturday night. It is November 21st, 2020. The NRL season's over. State of Origin's over. Not much footy left. The only rugby league that is still currently on is the Super League Grand Final, which is next weekend between Saints and Wigan. But that's another video for another time. But I just want to say, before I get into my Newcastle Knights 2020 season review, if you've just recently subscribed to the channel, I thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. We are not far off 1,000 subscribers, so if we can get to 1,000 subscribers, that would be absolutely magnificent. And thank you to everyone who has subscribed, and thank you to everyone that has taken the time out of their day to click on my videos and watch them. I really do appreciate it. Now let's get into it. The Newcastle Knights 2020 season review. They finished 7th in the 2020 season. It was the Newcastle Knights' first finals appearance since 2013. And funny enough, in 2013 they finished 7th and they made it all the way to the preliminary final. But this year they finished 7th and they went out in the first week against South Sydney. But let's have a look at their season. Let's have a look at the draw on how they went this year. And it all started off in round 1 where they had a good win against the Warriors, winning that game 20 points to 0, which was a really good start for the Knights. And then they absolutely gave it to the West Tigers, winning that game 42 points to 24. So Newcastle were 2-0, and then they had the whole coronavirus lockdown, the 6-week lockdown. And this would have really frustrated Newcastle because they were really good to start the year, 20-0 and 42-24 wins. They looked very good at the first 2 rounds, Newcastle. And then when the season restarted, they took on the Panthers, and they actually had a draw with Penrith. 14-all draw. So at this stage, they're still undefeated. And then they took on the Canberra Raiders down at, I can't fucking remember what the game was, but they defeated the Raiders 34 points to 18 in what was probably one of their best performances of the season. And then they had their first defeat, which was against the Melbourne Storm. I think that game was at Central Coast. Losing that game 26 points to 12. No shame in losing to the Melbourne Storm, especially for your first loss. Then they had a really good win against the Broncos, who had a pretty bad year. They beat them 27 points to 6. And then they went up to Townsville and they got ambushed by the Cowboys. And they lost that one 32-20. Bit disappointing for Newcastle there. Then they knocked off Manly 14-12 in a real tight game. They got home in that one. Then they were defeated by Parramatta 10 points to 4. And then they held on for their life against Souths, winning that one 20-18. I remember that game against Souths. I think Knights led either 20-0 or something, and then Souths just come out of nowhere, and Newcastle did well to hold on in that one. And then they started to become inconsistent here. They lose to the Bulldogs 18 points to 12, which is just pretty embarrassing considering how the Bulldogs went this year. So that was a game they should have won, and they threw that one away. Then they were beaten by the Storm 26-16. Then they absolutely smashed the West Tigers 44 points to 4. One of their best wins of the season, their most dominant performances. And then they knocked off Manly in a very high-scoring game, 26 points to 24. Then they defeated my team, the Cowboys, 12 points to 0. And then, I don't know what happened here. They became inconsistent the last 3 weeks of the season. They're very on and off. Smashed by the Warriors, 36-6. Beat Cronulla, 38-10. Lost to the Roosters, 42-12. Bounced back, 42-18 against the Dragons. And then they got beat by the Gold Coast last round, 36-6. And then in the finals, the elimination final against South Sydney at ANZ Stadium, or Telstra Stadium, whatever you want to call it, they led 14-0 against South, and they ended up getting beat 46-20. So you can see Newcastle had a really good year. They won a lot of games. They won enough games to make the finals. They had some good wins, and they had some lucky wins, and they had some disappointing losses. But, they missed out on a home final because a couple of losses to a couple of sides that weren't that great. Getting flogged by the Gold Coast a week before the finals is really disappointing. Losing to the Warriors is not good. The Warriors didn't make the 8. Losing to the Bulldogs, losing to the Cowboys, losing to a couple of bludgeoning teams that were just disappointing all year. It cost them a top 4 spot, really. It cost them a home final. It cost them 6th or 5th position. So losing 2 sides that they should have beaten cost them a home final. So no wonder why they went out the first week. But, you know, as in terms of the Newcastle Knights season and their expectations, I think they did very well. The first time they played finals in, 7 years. So it was good effort for Newcastle to make the 8. They did well. I think most people out there, most experts and most people that I'm friends with, if you had Newcastle in your 8, we probably saw them going out the first week. I don't think anyone had Newcastle making the 8 and then going a fair way into the finals. But they did very well for a team that hasn't done anything for 6-7 years. So it was good to see Newcastle go very well this year. Now, having a look at some of their performances, if I'm going through it, you know, their best win, in my opinion, was the game against Canberra, where they ambushed them, 34 points to 18. Another game where I thought they were really good was against the Tigers, 44-4, and the Dragons, 42-18. Some of their disappointing losses, well, the game where they lost to the Roosters, 42-12, where Newcastle rested heap of their players. I just did not understand that. Another disappointing loss was probably against the Warriors and the Gold Coast. They were disappointing losses in themselves. And even losing to the Bulldogs. I mean, not being hard on the Bulldogs or anything, but the Bulldogs were really shit this year. So losing to a team like that is not good. So, you know, they definitely showed their inconsistencies all year. So I think their worst loss was probably the game against the Gold Coast. Their best win was the one where they beat Canberra 34-18. In my opinion, having a look at some of their good players this year, some of their poor players. I'll start with the good players. I thought Mitch Barnett was outstanding this year. I thought he played very well. I thought Mitchell Pearce was really good again. I thought Bradman Best played well when he was... How many games did Bradman Best actually play? Because I know he was out for a few weeks. Bradman Best. Okay, he played most games, so he was pretty good for him all year. He's a strike centre, so he's a player of the future for the Knights. I thought Daniel Scifiday was outstanding for Newcastle. I thought he had a great year. I thought his other brother too, Jacob Scifiday, I thought he played well. And some of Newcastle's outside backs at the start of the year, I didn't really go much on the Newcastle outside backs, and they surprised me a little bit. I thought Homer Hunt played very well this year. I thought Anari Tuwala was quite good. I thought Kalen Ponga was very inconsistent, very on and off. He had his moments though, Kalen Ponga. I thought Lachlan Fitzgibbon was quite solid as well. You know, they definitely had some pretty good players for Knights this year. Even, what's his name? The young players. Stafford Toa. He only played 8 games. He looked all right. I don't mind him. He's player of the future, and he looked pretty good this year, in my opinion. Some of their poor players for the Knights. I thought David Clement was a little bit quiet. He was definitely playing well below his standards. He could have been a lot better. I thought he was pretty poor this year. I thought Tim Glasby was poor, but, you know, he didn't play a whole lot due to injury. Jaden Brayley got injured. So the thing with Newcastle this year was I thought they had so many injuries to hookers. Like they lost Connor Watson. They lost Andrew McCulloch. They lost so many hookers this year. It was ridiculous. Another player who I thought was very poor this year was Tautai Moga. He doesn't offer a whole lot, in my opinion. I thought he was a little bit disappointing. Yeah, overall, most of the Newcastle players played well this year, but I think as a team, the games that they should win were the games that they really stuffed up on, and I think in the end, that's what cost Newcastle finishing higher on the ladder. I mean, if you have a look at, they finished 23 points, so, you know, if they had to beat the Gold Coast, if they had to beat Canterbury, if they had to beat North Queensland, they probably would have been around 5th or 4th. So, you know, losing games to teams that you should beat does come back to bite you in the end. So, that obviously sucks for Newcastle, but overall, I thought they had a pretty good year. If I was giving their season a rating out of 10, I'd give the Newcastle Knights season probably a 6 out of 10. I think they did very well this year. I think they're a team that are going to be around for the next couple of years. I think they're definitely going to be playing finals again next year if they keep the same side. I think they need to figure out a few positions first. I think that they need to figure out who is their best 5'8" to complement Mitchell Pearce in the halves. Kalen Ponga needs to stay fit and stop getting injured. He needs to try and stay consistent. I know you can't help injuries, but he seems to be getting a few injuries a year, Kalen Ponga, so he needs to stay fit. I think Connor Watson could be the difference for Newcastle. He can play dummy half, 5'8", lock, bench. Connor Watson could be the difference for him this year, for him next year. Kurt Mann, you know, a lot of people thought he had a good year. I thought he was very hot and cold, Kurt Mann. He had one good game here, then he had a quiet one there, poor one there, another couple of good games, and another quiet one. So he had a very hot and cold year, Kurt Mann. I don't see Kurt Mann as a 5'8". I think Kurt Mann's probably his best position is either probably in the centres or maybe on the bench as that jersey 14. But what do Newcastle need going into next year? I think they need to go look for a 5'8". I think that their forward pack looks really good. You know, next year, their forward pack is going to be one of the best in the game. You know, you're going to have Scifiday and Clemmer up front. Back row, you're going to have Fitzgibbon and Frizzell. And at lock, you're going to have Barnett. So Newcastle are going to have one of the best starting forward packs next year. They'll definitely have a great forward pack next year. And if Mitchell Pearce can find a good house partner, if Tex Hoy can get more minutes, maybe play him as that number 6, or maybe go to the market and find someone. But I think they're a team on the up, and I think they probably need another outside back. I think Bradman Best is good. Heimel Hunt looked pretty good. Stafford Toller's not too bad. I don't know about Anari Tuwalu as a good centre. I think they need another outside back, in my opinion, Newcastle. But I guess the real question for the Knights, guys, is does Mitchell Pearce carry the Knights? You know, does he carry Newcastle in general? Now, if you're going off this year, you'd probably say he does, because if Mitchell Pearce didn't play well in some games, then Newcastle probably wouldn't have been in it. You know, it was a tough year for Mitchell Pearce. I thought he played pretty well. If I was given Pearce a rating out of 10, I'd probably give him a 6 out of 10. He had different house partners all the time. He had different hookers all the time. There was injuries left, right, front, and centre in the hooker position. The 5'8" always got injured for the Knights. So if they can find a good house partner for Mitchell Pearce, that would be really good. But does Pearce carry Newcastle? I would say he does, because looking at the way Newcastle play, if Pearce doesn't play well, Newcastle won't win. So I honestly believe Pearce carries the Knights. But look, going into next year, they're getting Tyson Frizzell. I think he'll be a good addition for him. I know he had a poor year at St. George, but his mind is focused on the Knights, and I think he'll play well there next year. And also a quick mention to the Knights coach, Adam O'Brien. I thought he did a terrific job this year. His first year as head coach in the NRL. He was an assistant coach at Melbourne and the Roosters for a couple of years. And he pretty much did his apprenticeship there. Now he's a head coach. Got him to the finals for the first time in about 6-7 years. So Adam O'Brien had a great year as head coach at the Knights. And I think he probably should have been a contender for Coach of the Year. He wasn't even mentioned in the contenders for Coach of the Year. I'm not saying he should have been Coach of the Year. I'm just saying he should have been at least a nominee for it anyway. But I'm surprised he wasn't. But he's a good young coach, Adam O'Brien, and I think if he can just keep this young side together and maybe get a couple of more experienced players and maybe a good 5'8" to help Mitchell Pearce out, then I think they're a team that will be around for the next couple of years and maybe even could contend for a premiership in the near future. But if I was going to give you the Knights' best player this year and their worst player, I'd say their best player for mine, I would give it to Mitchell Barnett. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And I'd say their worst player, I'd probably go Tautai Moga. I thought he was really disappointing this year. I don't rate him at all anymore. He just seems to not worry the defence at the line. He plays centre. He doesn't do a whole lot, in my opinion. I thought he was really poor this year. And, yeah, we'll see if he's in his team next year. But anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up my review for the Newcastle Knights for 2020. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you guys go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, I reckon Barnett was their best player of the year. I reckon Moga was their worst. I'll give the Knights season a 6 out of 10. And look forward to seeing how they go next year. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it. I'm out of here. Thanks for watching. Have a great Saturday night. I appreciate the support, guys. And I will see you guys in the next one.